Thanks for clicking. My name is Mark Mitchell. I'm a mortgage broker here in London, Ontario. The Chinese real estate crisis continued to unravel this week. The People's Bank of China, like our Bank of Canada or the Federal Reserve, is getting more and more vocal about the Evergrande crisis when it's actually been quite silent for the past few weeks. So what I want to do is go over what the Bank of China has said. I want to go over some of the developments this week as there's been multiple downgrades and some missed payments. And I want to go over some good news that happened near the end of the week in the Evergrande saga. And finally, we'll end off with going over what to look for next. We will have a video out next week as the Bank of Canada is set to release its monetary policy report with some predictions for Canadian real estate and how it sees the current real estate market. And hopefully we'll see some tidbits on what they think about the current rate of inflation, which is starting to go up even higher than the Bank of Canada had expected. Click like and subscribe to get those updates, but for now, let's get into the Evergrande crisis. So while the People's Bank of China had remained relatively silent over the past few weeks on the Evergrande crisis, they're starting to get more and more vocal as they seek to reassure investors that the Evergrande crisis can be contained. The PBOC's governor, Yi Gang, sought to reassure investors that the government will be perfectly able to contain the Evergrande risk. Many are pointing out that there are large parallels between him and Ben Bernanke. I'm not sure if you remember Ben Bernanke. He was the chairman of the Federal Reserve during the 2008 financial crisis.
The Depression may have started because of a stock market crash, but what hit the general economy was a disruption of credit.
No, that's Paul Giamatti playing Ben Bernanke in Too Big to Fail, which was about the 2008 financial crisis. Great actor, though.
Forget about it.
This is Ben Bernanke. So when he was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, he also sought to reassure all investors and through the media and through multiple interviews that they could contain the subprime mortgage crisis.
Our assessment is that there's not much indication at this point that subprime mortgage issues have spread into the broader mortgage market, which still seems to be healthy, and the lending side of that still seems to be healthy.
And as we all know, that turned out really well. So of course the governor of the central bank is going to try to assuage the fears of investors and of bondholders as money is starting to pour out of China and real estate prices are dropping very, very quickly. So they're going to try to do what they can to try to try to shore up confidence on the part of investors as the economy is not doing that great in China. And developments continue to get worse this week. Evergrande had a $2.6 billion deal with Hobson to sell his property management firm fall through this week. Evergrande was obviously quite keen to see that deal go through as they're facing a liquidity crunch, so $2.6 billion would have definitely gone away to assuage those pressures, but the deal did fell through. And if it gives you any idea of what the market thinks of Evergrande right now, not what the central bank thinks of the government of Evergrande, not what MSNBC thinks of Evergrande, but the actual market investors think of Evergrande. Shares of Hobson went up when it was announced that the deal had fallen through. So investors thought that Hobson was more valuable when they weren't going to have any piece of Evergrande whatsoever. Moving in the opposite direction, shares of Evergrande fell 12.5% when it was found out that they wouldn't be getting that $2.6 billion prior to their bond payment.
No way!
But there wasn't all bad news for Evergrande. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. We did see another real estate developer in China miss another payment. China Property Group missed payments on $226 million notes. And then CASA, another real estate developer that we've yet to talk about, had its bonds dumped after it canceled a large slew of planned investor meetings. So when it didn't want to meet with its investors, the market got scared and a lot of its bonds were dumped onto the market. So last week we had 6 total real estate developers in trouble. We have Evergrande, Cynic, Fantasia, Greenland, Modern Land, and eHouse. Add in this week's China Properties Group and CASA puts us at 8. And then if we add Moody's downgrades of Yango Group, China Iwan, Shinsu Holding Group, RNF Properties, and Zhonglang Holdings, I just split those groups up because I think we're at now 12 real estate developers that are showing major signs of weakness, and I couldn't remember all 12 at once because I am no Mark Wahlberg.
Doolittle, Poppins, Bond, Blowfoot, Blatarski, Light, Yasoze, O'Hara, Dufresne, Clouseau, McFly, Bag.
Repeated calls to get Mark Wahlberg to voice the names of the Chinese real estate developers went unanswered.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come.
But on to some good news for Evergrande. They did make their $110 million bond payment, which was due today, and they made it today. Nothing like waiting for the last minute, but this was really good news for the real estate developer. It had missed its bond payment on September 23rd, but was given a 30-day grace period. So, had they missed this bond, this was going to be big news, and a big worry, as it would be almost 100% chance that they were going to default. And as we've said in the past, it's a huge real estate developer in China. So, it's making its bond payment was great news, although it hasn't been asserted yet where the money came from. As we've said this week, they had their shares plummet and they didn't get a lot of liquidity that they were hoping to get. So, are we all good now on the Evergrande crisis?
No, back to you. No, absolutely not. It is just the beginning, really. I mean, it buys everybody a little bit of time.
No, Evergrande missed a bond payment on September 29th as well, so they have 30-day grace period to make that payment. So we have to look for, is that payment going to be made next week? And then there are a series of payments due soon thereafter, as well as millions and billions of dollars more payments due in the following months, which we will keep track of. This is a slow-moving crisis, but a crisis nonetheless. It's a slow-moving crisis, but it's expanding. As we said, we started with just Evergrande, moved up to 6 holdings, and now we're at about 12. 12 different real estate developers that look like they're in trouble, that have either missed payments, had their credit downgraded, major losses in share price, etc., etc. So, one payment by Evergrande does not a crisis fix. So there will be multiple updates coming out in the future from China, and we'll have those updates via our weekly China update. Click like and subscribe to get those videos, and thanks so much for watching.